Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your daily astrology horoscope for Friday, November 22nd of 2024. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Trusting you guys are having a wonderful week. Let's go ahead and hop into it today, see what we have going on. Well, Sun is officially in Sagittarius, so it is Swagitarius season. Apparently, I was actually, my original due date was November 21st, so there's a good chance I could have been a Sag. I had to go back and look at that exact, like in 1991 to see if the sun ingressed on the 20th or the 21st or something like that. But apparently I could have been a Sag. So, I do have a lot of Sag energy though. That is my rising. That is my Mercury. So, in any event, we have the sun here in Sag, and it is still in sextile to this Pluto, but it will be coming off of the sextile to Pluto, so that influence will be weakening. We do have that moon up here in Leo, of course, and it is going to make some aspects today before it shifts into Virgo. So, technically, it will go void, of course, because the last planet that it'll make an aspect to before it reaches Virgo will be Neptune. So there will be a few hours there where the moon is kind of just floating out there, not making any aspects to anything, right? So now we do see it early in the day. It will make that square over to Uranus. This is happening earlier in the morning here on the East Coast. If you're in Europe, this is going to be your early afternoon. Australia and other side of the world, this will be more like your evening, but we will see that moon make that square over to Uranus, and this is definitely an interesting one. We've been getting these aspects, of course, whenever the moon goes into Leo, and it does make this square, and it's kind of interesting too because there's definitely no mutual reception here. While Uranus would rather be in Scorpio over Taurus, it doesn't necessarily want to be in Leo either because it rules Aquarius, right? But the moon would actually like being where Uranus is. So it's kind of an interesting thing where the moon is sort of like, hey Uranus, I'd like to be where you are. And Uranus like, yeah, well, you can have this if you want it. But the moon's over here in Leo. This can have definitely, I feel like emotionally, this can bring up things of jealousy and envy, especially if you're looking at other people and other groups of people and maybe the possessions and the things that they have or the money that they have. This can stir up feelings of envy and jealousy and stuff like that. And I think that's the interesting kind of dance between a moon in Leo and this Uranus and Taurus is that whenever the moon goes into Leo, even though we may feel inspired and motivated to maybe want to do other things and feel the more of the passion, when it makes it square, this challenging aspect, it's really easy to slip into jealousy, envy. When you're looking at what other people have and what other people are doing, we may get in our heads like, oh, well, you may get jealous over that, or maybe you want that thing, or there can be this disconnect as far as the value system as well, too. So, and people can get really passionate about this. People can get really charged up about this, too. We got to take into consideration, though, that Mars still is here in Leo, and it is slowing down, and another planet that is slowing down is Mercury. So if we look at all of the energy that's in fire, even though we do have some fire power, it's not like it's like some great big explosion. It's sort of like it's nothing that's super like intense. Now the sun has just shifted into Sag, so that's definitely going to bring about some energy, but Mercury is slowing down. It's going to be coming retrograde here in the next few days. We have Chiron that's in Aries, right, in the North Node here, and then we have Mars in Leo, and the moon's going to be leaving the spot anyways. So we'll have that square in the first part of the day, and then as the moon progresses, we'll see it make the quincunx over to this Neptune here at 27 degrees. So just kind of adding a layer onto the square with Uranus, now we get this weird, awkward stare to Neptune. And remember, the quincunxes where you feel like you may be on the same page with something or someone, but you really aren't. And I feel like this one, I'm getting the feeling with this one, like just with the moon here being here, Leo, I think people want something to look like what it's actually not. I don't know if I even really said that correctly. I think people want in their hearts, or they feel like they want something to look much more of like a fantasy than it actually is. And it's really one of those moments where it's like people may be looking at the veil or the curtain or like this Wizard of Oz kind of energy, and they're wanting something grander to be behind the curtain than it actually is. And people can delude themselves into thinking that it's grander, or much more grander as they look at it. A really good example here, because this is dealing with Leo, is relationships. We can look at relationships through this Hollywood rose tinted glasses lens kind of way, and thinking that relationships have to look this certain way, or they're always going to be super romantic and there's not going to be any challenges, there's not going to be any troubles or anything like that. And at the moment that there's any type of discord that comes in, if you notice, like nowadays, people are so quick to give up on each other, whether it's in a romantic setting or a platonic setting or just even relationships in general. But people are so quick to give up on each other. And I think it's because we've been fed this bullshit idea that especially romantic relationships have to look a certain way. And that's just simply not the case, you know? But if we kind of continue to feed that delusion, it's always going to be awkward when challenges arise within these relationships and we think it has to look a certain way. They may show some complications within relationships in movies, but they're always resolved in some weird way. And then it's like happily ever after, but you never really see the other stuff. You never really see the nitty gritty details of that relationship. You just see this one little snapshot. And we all have those. We all have like those, those moments of those seemingly Hollywood-esque snapshots into like our relationships and our reality, or we'll maybe post like on social media and different things of that nature. Uranus also does with social media. So it's like, be careful about what you idolize through social media. Be careful about your perceptions on relationships and spirituality and how those things kind of come together. And don't, try not to fall for the super Disney Hollywood-esque, you know, reality that's been fed to us. And there are moments where it can be like that, but it's not always like that. And I think that's really what I'm getting at here. But we will see that moon that's going to come into Virgo today. And then this is the interesting part too, is that we get this moon now aspecting over to Pluto in Aquarius. So we kind of get this double dose of Aquarian-like energy via the moon, whereas earlier in the day, it's the square to Uranus, so the ruling planet of Aquarius. And then this one, we get this aspect over to Pluto, which is actually in the sign of Aquarius and will remain there for the next 20 years. And this is, once again, another quincunx. So you're going to be dealing with this awkward energy where you feel like you may be on the same page, but not really. And Virgo is all about the day-to-day reality, too. So, as I'm saying, like emotionally, we may be kind of looking at our reality and want it to look something else, like it has to be something else. But Pluto's kind of coming in here and saying there are going to be changes. Like that's just going to happen. There are going to be changes. There's going to be innovations. We cannot go backwards. We cannot move backwards. And because this is at 0 degrees, this is bringing about the pure essence of these signs forward. So we get that pure essence of Virgo energy, which Regulus is of course here too. And then we get the pure essence of the Aquarius energy via the Pluto. So I feel like the first aspects, like the square to Uranus, might feel more dramatic, and then the quincunx over to Neptune might feel more dramatic. I feel like this quincunx over to Pluto might be a little bit more silent. It might be a little bit more hush hush, but nonetheless, it's still going to be is kind of this powerful moment where reality kind of starts to settle in, especially as far as like, how is the world going to look? How are we going to start to relate to other people? That's all about Aquarius, right? How are we going to look at humanity as a whole? And these are the things that are going to start to arise now that we have this moon in Virgo that's going to be making the quincunxes instead of the trines to Capricorn like it was making. Now it's going to be dealing with that 150-degree angle to this Pluto energy, and it's going to be like, how can we get on the same page? How can so many different people have different versions of seemingly the same reality? It's like that whole image of two people looking at a number, and one of them is saying it's a 6, and one of them is saying it's a 9. Both of them are correct. They're just coming at it from two different angles. They're kind of on the same page, but they're not at the same time. So how can we bring about these perspectives, and how can we find some type of cohesion in it? It's just interesting. Like, there's a different version of you in every single person that you meet. There's someone that thinks you're the funny one. There's someone that thinks that you're the sweetest person that they've ever met. There's someone that thinks that you're annoying. There's someone out there that doesn't like you at all. There's someone out there that will always go to you when they need help. And there's a different version of you in everyone's head. But those are just pieces of who you are. It's not actually who you really are. That's just the different pieces. And just like that, we kind of view our whole world in that way, where we all are coming at it from these different perspectives, and now we have to learn how to have some sort of cohesion with it, right? The other interesting thing about this day, of course, is that we do get that third quarter square, so we will see that moon square over to the sun here at 1 degrees, and that pretty much caps the evening off in the day with essentially emotion. I feel like we're going to be kind of like jerked all over the place. We're going to be dealing with the Uranian energy, then we're going to be dealing with the Neptune energy, then we're going to be dealing with the Pluto energy, then we're going to be dealing with the sun. So it's like emotionally, it's going to be a mixed bag throughout the day, and learning how to kind of juggle the reality is going to be interesting. We start off with the Leo with 2 aspects, and then we get 2 aspects when the moon goes into Virgo. So it's about in many ways I'm saying, like, how can we, I would say, like, how can we integrate these beliefs, if you will, with the Sag energy? How can we integrate the vision, right? How can we find some similarities with people in larger groups, and how can we, understand our reality and really see that we all have these different perspectives? How can we see that teamwork makes the dream work? That's the whole Neptune Pisces energy, I feel. But also at the same time, not necessarily fall for the overly romanticized aspects of things that we sometimes like to feed ourselves and those stories. And then how can we also deal with that squaring energy over to Uranus with the feelings of jealousy and stuff like that, and envy that may come up when it comes to certain people, the way that they project themselves, whether it's on social media or their money or the things that they have and their values. Where can we find maybe some similarities as far as that goes? It's going to be a day with the moon making all that stuff and a mixed bag of emotions. It really is. Another thing that I want to mention, and this is something that's going to be building up over the next couple of weeks, so it's not necessarily major today, but it's something I want you to take into consideration, is the fact that we are seeing this Venus-Sun semi-square start to form. It's not exact, and because it's a semi-square, that typically aren't necessarily major aspects. But the semi-square, it's interesting because, like I said, it's half of a square. It's 45 degrees. So it's sort of like, it's challenging like a 90-degree angle, but it is sort of like, what's what I'm looking for? It's like the exposition of a challenge. It's like this is something that potentially could arise. This is sort of like, these sometimes can be the small problems that we make into bigger problems, right? So with the Sun Venus semi-square, that's going to be starting to form, and it won't come exact until December. But by this time, Mercury will be retrograde, right? That's something to consider, and Mars will be getting closer to retrograding too. So that semi-square is starting to form, and I'll talk a little bit more about this as we get a little bit closer to it. But I just want you to just want to put that nugget right there, because, like I said, the Sun and Sag, the quincunx over this semi-square over to Venus, this is going to bring out a lot of the things that we have gone over with Pluto in Capricorn. It's going to bring up a lot of these different things, and this Venus in Capricorn, my buzzword for it is, what responsibilities are you willing to take on and receive? Right? And then the Sun and Sag can be talking about the greater vision, or the greater, the target that you have, if you will. So I think that the semi-square that's forming here, that we'll see progress over the next couple of weeks as it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, is that you can be given a vision. I think we all can be, but you can be given a vision of how things are going to go and how you want to receive things and what you can really build. That there's going to be some type of weird little thing that kind of gets in the way, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Mercury is going to be retrograding in the midst of this whole transit of this semi-square that's forming. So it's really going to be a mental game. It's going to be like whether or not you psych yourself out of believing that you can obtain the things that you want to obtain via this Venus and Capricorn energy. But also, it's going to be about whether or not you can still remain in integrity. So, I think some great things are really forming here, but like I said, it's going to still require us to have some moments of reflection, because even though there's a lot of energy that suggests that things are moving forward, there's still a lot of energy that is suggesting that we have to take another look in the mirror. And that's just how it goes. There are moments where all the planets are moving forward, but maybe a planet's not necessarily in the best place, or a planet is slowing down. But that's good, because we can't just be moving 100 miles an hour in every aspect of our life all the time. There's got to be moments where it has to be some give and take. So utilize this moment to just, be open, be inspired, and take your life day by day. Know that there's a lot of energy that we're dealing with, and know that there's, like I said, no one alive, unless you lived 200 something years ago, knows what it's like to just have Pluto just stay in Aquarius and not retrograde back into Capricorn, right? So this is new. It's happened before, this planet, but we weren't alive for that. So this is new energy. So with new energy, give yourself some grace, have some faith that things are going to work out. Focus on your life, focus on the things that are working out for you, and be open to the grander visions that are going to be coming through. Because that's the cool thing about Sag season. It's a time where we can be imbued with the visions. It's just whether or not we're going to act on them. Card of the day I have is the Emperor in reverse. Yeah, don't get too caught up in your ego and how you want things to look. Don't try and force things to happen. This is like, don't try and like force something into a spot that it doesn't fit. Take the time to find the right tool and the right screw and, go about it in that way. But if you try and just force your way through, then you're going to find yourself in a very uncomfortable position. Probably in a place where you're not going to really be accepted, and, it's just not going to go, I guess, the way that you want it to go. So, yeah, don't try to overforce the issue. Don't try to do your best to not be so egotistical about it. We all have an ego, and the ego serves a purpose. But this is about don't just because you want it to happen that way and what you say goes, it doesn't always go that way, So don't force the issue. Be a little bit calm about it. Know that you do have great power, but with great power comes great responsibility. And if you invoke and use that power in the wrong way, God will take it away at some point. And that's just how it goes. That's going to do it for... I kept the screen low when I was showing the card, but yeah. But that's going to do it for your daily astrology horoscope. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey today. If you did enjoy this, please like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. And if you would like to have a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to my website, jphoenix.com. But as always, y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful Friday, and I will see you all on the next video. Peace.